When people get desperate, the knives come out, and we're totally here for it. Wait, we're no homicidal maniacs. We just can't get enough of Detective Benoit Blanc solving murders. And who would? These fresh Agatha Christie-style whodunits involving Daniel Craig are a surefire sight for sore eyes. But they aren't the only attention-grabbing thing about these movies. So let's investigate today how Knives Out constantly and hilariously stabs pop culture, making it super memorable. To begin with, you don't have to be aware of pop culture to understand its jokes. Let's be honest, any movie trying to be relevant these days adds a pinch of pop culture. But here's the problem with that. They aren't always successful. Most attempts are literally by old and rich Hollywood execs trying too hard to fit in with the young crowd. They come off so cringy. Other times, the film's released so late that their pop culture bit expires. You know, the buzzing mainstream media always has a new thing to fuss over. Knives Out movies wanted a piece of that rushed world, so they bypassed all that and become a pop culture classic itself. Now that's how you make a splash. Also, another major issue with adding popular jokes is that not everyone would understand them. Just try to tell us you're on top of every meme source material out there. You can't. Half your audience would get the gag, but the other half would be left high and dry. That won't do here. Oh no. That's why most jokes in these Rian Johnson flicks can make everyone laugh. They do get inspired by popular bits, but it's just that, inspiration, not a total copy. Let's give you an example. In the latest release, Glass Onion, Dave Bautista's character, Dave, might be too familiar to some people. Can't put your finger on it, huh? It's a play on Joe Rogan. Now, those who know can enjoy Dave a lot more, but those who don't would be entertained by him too. So the movies become funny on multiple levels. For now, it's a modern-day whodunit. Skipping over direct pop culture references don't mean the movies are out of touch with today's world. In fact, it's the complete opposite. Both parts are more attuned to modern times than any other crime mysteries like this. Let's visit the past to understand the difference better. Most iconic movies in this genre are period pieces. Take Murder on the Orient Express, set in the early 20th century. Or how about the classic Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Even the beloved detective Sherlock Holmes and Bonnie and Clyde come from the early era, and movies inspired by them follow suit, set in the same period. Okay, we know you're thinking there have been so many detective tales apart from these set in the modern day, but were they really memorable? Negative. Ghost Rider. In contrast, Knives Out and Glass Onion are not only set in modern times, they create their own unique aesthetics. With that, allow us to explain more. Ryan heavily takes inspiration from Agatha's style, bringing in her elements that made other classic murder mysteries a hit, but the director also adds modern twists, so you have no doubt it takes place in the now. Like dropping Twitter or cancel culture so cheekily, not to mention the white, rich guys hating PCs, or how the wealthy treat the immigrants. Additions like these bring flair while staying in touch with how the world is now. This way, the franchise sticks to beloved classics and still carves its own fresh way, and we totally stand that. Coming up, the sarcastic attack on tech moguls. Speaking of the rich dudes, both movies don't spare them at all. Knives Out focuses on a wealthy family that appears so loved up and cozy on the outside, but the inside presents how they're all wacko, somehow, only chasing the inheritance. Glass Onion, on the other hand, brings Edward Norton as a shady tech millionaire into the mix, making things more interesting. How so? Let's hear it from Ryan. He says Americans have a funky relationship with tech millionaires. We love making fun of them, treating them as Willy Wonka, and thinking they'll all take us up in the great glass elevator and take us to Mars. A tech Richie Rich and Mars reminds you of whom? Elon Musk, of course. Seeing his Twitter tales, the masses agree that he can get too out of control, so he's often the butt of many jokes. Glass Onion does something similar too, taking a jab at him and scoring the bullseye. The way it relates to the hottest topic in town so cleverly is genius. And that's not all. The movie further dives deep, showing Norton's Miles Braun hosting a murder mystery game. Miles sits on top of his power structure. He doesn't think he's disrupting anything, but it sure as heck happens. Such people like Braun stir trouble but think of themselves as all high and mighty. Money protects them by creating an invisible shield, and when something does happen, they're horrified by it. it, as if they didn't make the circumstances that instigated it. Following with a deeper reference to COVID rather than just a name drop. The final aspect that tied the Knives Onion franchise's massive popularity in a neat little bow is COVID. We know that sounds weird, but it'll clear up in just a second. No one can deny the pandemic happened. It wasn't just a bad dream that we can sleep on. People still talk about how it paused our lives. The struggles, the depression, the memes about the testing time in our life never stopped. So naturally, it finds a deserving place in modern pop culture. Surprisingly, not many movies have explored that. Yeah, there have been a few mentioned here and there, but they mostly include using well-known words like quarantine or second wave, or most common of all, work from home and Zoom calls. Most films' names just dropped COVID and felt it was done and dusted. There was no exploration regarding the human aspect and how they survived it. That won't do, sire. Glass Onion recognized that gap and fell neatly into it. Rather than doing what the others have, it set its plot in the early pandemic days. There, it explores how the ultra-rich and corrupt amused themselves with getaway trips. They wouldn't bother thinking about the catastrophe wreaking havoc in the world. Oh, heck no! They have their own little haven, and they're gonna enjoy it no matter what the lockdown rules state. This savage yet insanely entertaining commentary about their bubble set the movie apart from every other in the pool, and nailed it! Now, let's take a look at the most iconic Knives Out moments, starting with Marta and her interesting issue. There's no doubt that Ana de Armas, as Marta Cabrera, was legendary, but her character's weird issue made her even more iconic. You see, our honest-to-God caretaker couldn't lie at all. If she did, she'd vomit her guts out. Ugh, right? Wait, she's a suspect and has to lie not to raise suspicion. Ah, but what to do when the puke button is attached to your lying button? Even though it sounds yucky, the habit made for the most hilarious scenes in the movie. And we can't deny how good Ana is at barfing. Must have been so hard to shoot those gross scenes. Next up, the incredible interrogation. Then enters the charming Benoit with his southern drawl. He rounds up every member of the Thromby family and begins his questioning. Here, secrets unveil as the seemingly loving family turns at each other, snitching on whoever they can. It's a hysterical look at family politics and toxicity. Every man and woman for himself and herself. Never heard of family, guys? What's that? Every member was out to get everyone, and we were munching at our popcorn, thoroughly enjoying the drama. Also, we spot the inconsistencies in their stories, allowing us to delve into our own investigative personas. Not to mention the will fiasco. Still, in the interrogation scenes, the family maintains manners. It's all discreet jabs and poised statements. Until the will is read, and all hell breaks loose. Manners go out the window when it's revealed Harlan left everything to Marta. If you had any doubt that the family cared about the patriarch, it should vanish here. They shed their covers, ready to aim for the poor girl's throat. Yikes, rich peeps can be so vicious sometimes, and the way the Thrombys do that will totally make you chuckle. What's more, Chris Evans' grand entry. Perhaps the best reaction from the will scene comes out of Evans. He just laughs his butt off and leaves the family to rip each other apart. His character, Ransom, is a no-show in the earlier half of the film, but when he does arrive, Ransom quickly steals the show. He has one remark for every member: eat doo-doo, but he didn't say doo-doo. And how he enters and starts firing insults is comic gold. Not gonna lie, seeing our adorable Chris as a rude man-child took us off guard. Still, that doesn't mean you won't be amused. Oh, you'll relish in the acting, and we'll see he's a far departure from a righteous superhero. Moving on to the confession scene. Here, Marta's vomiting and Evans join together to deliver a masterpiece of a climax. We find that our heroine wasn't the culprit, Ransom was, but there's no proof, so she needs a confession. In the presence of Blanc and other officers, Cabrera tells Evans that Lucy is alive after he tries to kill her. She's given her statement too, and he can't get away now. Finding that out, the murderer arrogantly says he'll easily get away, they can't pin it on him, etc., etc. And just as he finishes confession, Marta pukes in his face. She was lying the whole time. Her holding the vomit back is far less entertaining than her puking on the pretty face. Finally, the final stab, and just when you think everything is solved now, Ransom attacks the girl in a desperate attempt at revenge. He plucks a knife from his grandfather's iron, thorn-like chair and stabs Anna. We're all shocked thinking, what the hey? But soon it's revealed it was a fake knife. Whoa! The audience totally loses it with excitement and joy. The final twist was so worth it and totally served as a fitting end to a roller coaster of an investigation. And that's a wrap! What's your take on Knives Out at its entertaining stabbing targeting pop culture? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and share the video. For more content like this, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next one.